start. Last class, we got into the basics of three-dimensional graphics. What I'd like to show you now is how to, a couple of things. One, how to draw different objects. How to draw spheres, cylinders, planes, and toruses, which are like donuts. And I'll show you how to, we have a standard way of drawing each one of those things. And the most important thing today, though, is how to orient stuff. If you're the camera, here's you, the camera right here, and you're looking at a scene right here. If you took your camera and you wrote it this way, or this way, you just wrote around the scene, the box would look like it was rotating. If that was the only thing in the scene, it would just look like the box is rotating. If you didn't move at all, if you stayed right here, and you took the box and you rotated it, it would look the same. You can't tell the difference really, because you don't know whether you're moving or it's moving, because there's no background. We're not giving any background to get perspective from. So what I'd like to show you today is how to rotate an object, so when you rotate it, it actually rotates, and how to rotate the camera, which is a different situation. Now, the reason why you have to know the two is because at some point, pretty quickly, you're going to have two objects in the scene. And you can see then it would be quite different. Then, when this guy moves, you're going to get quite a different deal than if this guy just spins. It's going to look very different. So therefore, you have to know how to do both things. You have to know how to rotate objects and how to rotate the camera, how to move the camera around, okay? And also, the camera also has another deal. It can go closer or further. It can move closer or further from the center. The camera's always looking at the center because we told it to do that. We say always look at the middle. And so therefore, we can either tell the camera to go in or out, slide in or out towards the scene. It's called the scene. The scene is in here. Okay, the camera's looking at that scene. Okay, so let's begin with, supposing you want to rotate an object. Well, when you rotate an object, you can rotate it on three axes. You can rotate it on the x-axis this way, which means the object would rotate like that. You can rotate it on the y-axis, which means the object would rotate like that. Or if you came out to the z-axis, it could rotate like this, which is on the z-axis. Okay? But the most common way of rotating things, if you walk around something, you walk around some object, this is the one that you're walking around right here. You're walking around the y-axis. So the y-axis is the one where the camera moves around and looks at it from different perspectives. That's the one we want to be sure we know how to do. And it's the one that's kind of built into the system that I have set up. So let's start off with an object like a plane, for example. And all a plane is, it's just a rectangle. It's, and it has some kind of picture on it. Whatever you want to put on it, it has a picture on it. That's what a plane is. And it's sitting there in space. And it's located originally, if you don't do anything, it's located at x, y, z, 0, 0, 0, 0. X, y, z, they're all zeros. It's right in the middle. It's facing forward. It hasn't rotated. It hasn't, nothing's happened. It's just sitting there. So what we want to do is, we want to have the ability to rotate that thing over any axis. And I want to show you how to do it, okay? To begin with, we do the same thing as we did last time. The H is near now. And then we're going to get some JavaScript in here. I kind of wonder if I'm going to try something different today. Let's try to let's see if I can get I'll write part of it there, and we'll also see if I can get it in. I've never tried that before. My writing usually requires so much sideways that I can't do it that way normally, but I'll try it. Okay, so the next thing is when you down here in the program. Let me write some of the program down here. Body. And this one's the, we're using graphics XX, I believe, in this. Yeah, this semester we get graphics XX only, so that's what we're going to have to use. So I'm going to say source equals http:// if that works. Slash, and it's right in the main, okay, graphics, JS. That's the line of code that gives us the power to do three-dimensional graphics. It's all located in that JS file right here. By the way, if you list that graphics file, you won't see much in it. But what it is, it has connections to other files in other places. It really doesn't have any code in it at all. It just says that there's 5 or 6 other files that it uses. It's a little bit weird, but that's what it does. So here it is. I'm going to draw. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to draw a plane. I want to draw that plane. And I'm going to make it 320 sideways and 240 vertically. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to give it a name, a variable script. Something I want you to notice here, by the way. In this line here, what I've done is I said script, and I didn't close that thing. And I put that thing inside the script. That's a command for inside the script, and there's / script over here. In this one, I open script and shut script. I shut it on this side, and then I don't have anything on the end. I just close it with that thing. So no, let me show you the two when they're finished, and you'll see what the difference is. Variable. That's the name I gave my plane. You have to give it, every object you make, you have to give it a name. Space, and then make plane is the command that makes it. That's exactly like that, all lowercase. And then what you do is you put the X width and the Y width and the name of the picture that you're going to put on it. This one's called flag.jpg. And then you close that thing, and then you follow this with a / script. Like that. Oops, sorry. It's got to have a close in here. Sorry about that. It's got a close in here. You can put a semicolon if you want to, but it's got to have that. Oh God, no, you don't want that. Boy, I'm causing a mess today. You don't want that. You want it to look like this. This one right here is the one where you actually close the V, because you never closed it up here. But then you open up the next one. This one here, you open and shut the chevrons, and then you just run across here, and that's just a quote parentheses right there. And then you open up and close another chevron down here. So that's basically what it looks like. If you look at the code in the line, they all look like that. Okay. So what I've done is I said I want to use I'm going to make 3D graphics, and I'm going to put that plane in the 3D graphics. HTML, and it's over. So now I know I'm ready to make 3D graphics. And everything, of course, all of the motion, the movements, and everything that controls the graphics is in the JavaScript. So that's what we have to start doing. Who's up here? I'm going to create a variable up here. I'm going to call it turn. And I'm going to create another variable. I'll do it over here. 0. And I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call it move. Also, I created 2 variables. One's turn, one's move. And what that's going to contain is the information about how much I'm moving the object in the Z direction, and how much I'm turning it. So there's only have two things I can do. I can move this thing, I can move the object, I have an object right here. I can move it this way or that way, back and forth. And I can turn it. I want to turn it over one of the axes. And that's what the two variables do. They tell you where am I as far as how far I've gone and how much have I turned. Originally, everything's at 0. Originally, you haven't turned and you haven't moved. You're at the 0 position. So when I create the variables, they will have that information. So I say, I'm going to leave a space here because I have to do a couple of commands. But down here, I have to go for the render function. And I have to, I'm going to put the other line right here. Yeah, I could put it down here. I'm going to put it right here just to save a little bit of space. This one's the it's capitalized. F is capitalized. And you put render in there. So, as I said, those lines have to be there because this one says the render does all the work for you, and this one here says keep making frames, keep going. Every time you make a frame, make a new one, keep doing that. So it's like a movie. You know, in a movie, if you have something, nothing moving, it still keeps making frames. The things that you're looking at, nothing's moving, but the frames are still going by. It's the same thing here. The frames are still going by, even if the objects aren't moving or anything. Okay. Now the question is, if I have an object and I want to rotate that object, I have 3 controls down here. The first 3 control where is the object, and the second 3 control which way do I rotate the object. So I'm going to put those lines down first, and then we're going to fix them. I'm just going to write them in the raw, the way they normally look when you first start them off. The thing I created here is called my sign, and it's a plane. So therefore, you'd have this. You'd have my sign dot plane dot position dot x equals 0. And you have the same thing for y. Plane dot position dot y equals 0. And then you have my sign dot plane dot position z equals 0. Okay, and then you have the 3 rotations. I'm going to put them up here so we can see them better on camera. I'm just continuing the program up here. Okay, just so we have this. We're going to have my sign dot rotation. Dot plane dot rotation dot x. That means I haven't rotated over the x-axis. Rotation 0 on the x-axis. My sign dot plane dot rotation dot y equals 0. My sign dot plane dot rotation dot z 0. So it has not rotated over any planes. This one right here, the y, is the one we're most interested in. Actually, any one would be interesting. You might want to turn it this way. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to turn it over one axis, because when you move the camera, that's over the same axis. I just want to show you how it distinguishes between the two. Okay, so basically I can change these numbers to anything. And whatever number I give them, it will position the thing and it will rotate it. Okay? Now here's the thing about rotation. It doesn't work in degrees. Degrees are not used in this. It uses what they call radians. Radians are in grade school, you learned that 2 pi r is the radius, right? 2 times
Right.
pi times the radius.
And the area is I times radius squared.
Yeah, well, 2 pi is like a measure of also how far in the circle you went. The whole circle, 360 degrees, is actually 2 pi. Okay, 2 pi radians. Okay, if you go only 1 pi, you've only gone half a circle. Half a pi, you've only gone a quarter of a circle. So in other words, these things are kind of, they're decimal numbers, and they're really hard to memorize. So what they've done is they have little tricks they do in trig, but we're going to avoid it as much as possible, because you can send the thing degrees, and it will actually calculate the pi for you. So I had a rig like that, so it would be easy for us to do. Okay, so next question. So far the program, if we ran this program, it would work. Let's see, I haven't got everything here. I'd have to put finish this thing off. No, I got a bunch of stuff to do, don't I? I'm sorry, I got to do all this camera stuff. So I'd have to say, let me write it in, because it won't hurt anything to get it in. You have to say render. The first thing you got to do is clear out the thing. You say set clear color, and that's a capital C right there. And I used last time we used comma. That's an X. It's got to be an X in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, comma 1. There's a comma right there. That's it. Like that. There it is. So all it does is that makes the background color, whatever the background is, it will put that color in. Camera dot position dot x equals 0. We started off not putting it in any particular position, and camera position z I gave it like 300 or something. I don't know what was it. So I'll give it 300. The main one is 300. So that means that the camera is 300 units away from the origin, like that, in the z direction, which is where we are. We're the camera. Okay. Camera look at. Use it as at. Capital A right there. And we'll look at, and you want to look at the scene dot position. Like that. And I got the 2 other things. Let me get these out of the way here, and I'll put them in. I'll bring this back. The last 2 things I got to do is to set the thing up. I got to get the renderer going. So the first thing I'm going to do is just say renderer. I think I could do this if I thought it through a little bit. Renderer dot set size, and that's how big your window is, by the way, right here, capital S. And then what you do is you tell it, if you give it these words, frame width, all one word, comma, frame height, all one word. What that does is, it sets up the frame width and frame height the same size as your screen, so it fills in the whole screen. That's what that does. And if you break this into half of it and half, you can break it into half, a quarter of the screen, and so forth. You can always change the size of this by dividing it by something. You can't, well, I suppose you can multiply it. It might just show you a fraction of it, though. Okay, so that's the first renderer. And the second one is the simple render the whole thing off. You gotta do that. That's a pain in the butt. So you say renderer dot render. It's dot render right there. And you can say set it, do the scene and the camera. These are all always the same. Always the same. Then what you got to do is you got to say, finish off the function that started right here. Just finish it off with that thing. Slash script. And slash head. It's awful. And slash body. Slash head and body. Which I erased before. So all that simply does is that just cleans up. You're finishing your JavaScript with slash script, slash head, body. And now you're in the body down in here where this stuff is. So this is actually the beginning of the body down in this area here. Okay. So what we have so far, if we actually run this program, what it would do is it would just show us the object. It would be on the screen, just be sitting there, 0, 0, nothing going on. Now, this function right here, graphics.js, contains all the key information. It contains all the keys and the mouse controls. Those are all built into it. It's just the same ones that we used before with a file we call basic, all the basics that was brought in. So everything is in graphics. So therefore we can use the keys and we can use the mouse to do whatever we want to do. And we use the same functions. We use the basic to figure out what's going on. So for example, if we hit a key in this language here, supposing I want to name the keys first before I do that. The keys are the arrow keys, which go this way, this way, this way, and this way. And I want to use those arrow keys I want to use the upper arrow key to move the object. I want it to move. The object's going to move for us. And I want it to move positively. So in other words, if I hit the upper arrow, I want the thing to move towards us positively because it's a positive, okay? If I hit the down arrow, I'm going to call it negative, so I'm going to move away from us. I'm going to have the thing move away from us. If I hit the left arrow, I want the thing to turn this way on the y-axis. And if I hit the right arrow, I want it to turn that way on the x-axis. So this here is 37, 38, 39, and 40. Those are the numbers for the keys. Those are the keys that if you run the program, it says, you know, I think it's key something, I can't remember what it's called, but it's actually in our list. Just hit the button. Okay, and it will tell you what a key is. Those are the keys that we're kind of interested in. So what I want to do is, if I want to do that, what I'm saying to this thing, I'm saying 38 and 40. What I'm saying to it is, well, if I hit 38 or 40, what I'm doing is I'm changing the Z position of the object. Because if I hit plus, I'm saying, come on out here. If I hit the negative 40, I'm saying, go back here. So in other words, all I'm doing is changing these positions right here. So here's what I do. I say, okay, first thing you have to do is capture any key that they get, and then take a look at it. So I say, okay, we have a function. This is how we catch keys, okay? And the one we use key hit, HIT, open shut. I'm going to put this right here. That's the opening of the function. It should be right here, but does the same thing here. Function opens up, and the first thing we do is we say, well, if the keystroke, which it gives us, that comes with this thing. The keystroke tells you what number that key is. You know the number of that key. But if that number that comes in is equal to, double equal to 37, what I'm saying is 37, I'm saying have the object turn this way. Right? I'm going to have it turn if it sees 37. So I say, okay, if that's true, turn equals plus equals 1. I'm just adding a degree to it. Turn plus equals 1. Then what I'm saying is, well, if I want to turn over the y, all I have to do is say this. there. Now see what happens. I hit the key, turn goes, it's 37, turn goes from 0 to 1. That should probably be negative, but let's leave it plus for now. I don't want to fiddle around with it right now. Actually, I should do it the right way though. Let's take one from it. I'm going to say if we hit 37, I want it to rotate this way, like that. Okay. So I'm adding a negative 1 to whatever's in turn. If there's 0 in there originally, then there's only negative 1, and that's what's in there. Every time I hit that key, it puts another negative 1. It keeps adding them in. So turn is getting more and more and more negative. And every time it hits this instruction here, it says, make the position, the Y position, wait a minute, sorry, I got the wrong one here. I'm really doing it bad today. 0. The Y rotation right here. Turn. You guys got to watch me more closely. I'm out of control. Right there. So what that does is it says, when I hit 37, it changes what turn is, and then it says, okay, then make turn that new position. And it hits the rotation and it keeps turning the thing. So if I hit turn that key 3 times, it would be -3. And what will happen is, this will see -3 and it will say, don't be in 0, be in -3. So when it draws it, it's in -3 now. So what you're doing is, you're kind of up here, outside the program where you're hitting the keys, you're changing the rotation of the thing. But inside the drawing routine, you're saying, okay, put it at that position. That's all that's going on here. And you can do it for any of the X, Y, or Z. You can do it any one. But so 37 is that way. And then you say if keystroke equals must be 39. Turn plus equals 1. Now what that does is that says rotate the other way. In other words, every time you hit this key here, it's going to go boop, boop, boop. When you hit that key there, 39, it's going to go boop, boop, boop the other way. And so every time it hits this thing, it's in one of the positions that whatever you hit. Okay, it adds them up and that's where you're at. So all it simply does is allows you to turn the object. And if you, the nice thing about the keys is, if you hold the key down, it'll do it over and over again. It'll go, it'll start rotating, just a nice smooth rotation. Right here, you'd have 2 more if statements, and sure, great. So I'm gonna have to get rid of these. Sorry about that. I'm gonna get rid of these. We're gonna put the ones that will change the position, the Z position, which means I want the object to come towards me or away from me like that. So let me do that. So in that same function, we're still in the same function. We haven't left it yet. You say if it's keystroke equals, in this case we want 40 to be positive. We want it to come towards us positively. So if it equals 40, what we do is we say we want the move plus equals 1. We want the move to be plus 1, which means it moves in the Z direction. And the reason why it moves in the Z direction is we're going to put move right here. There it is. So whatever move is, it puts it in that position. So every time we hit the 40, the arrow pointing towards us, it'll bring the object towards us. It'll move it more positive. It's positive Z direction. We move it more towards us. And if we put the negative up there, if keystroke uh, 38, yeah. Move minus equals 1, semicolon, close. It's going the other direction. And finally, this thing right here, you're going to put one of these guys in to finish it off. The key hit started up there. It did all 4 key hits and then it shut off right here.
One thing I'm a little bit curious about is like the numbers. Are they standardized even though they're odd, or are they just arbitrary ones you use?
What
like the 37, 38, 39, 40, are those like standardized numbers for these functions, or is that just something arbitrary you just use?
No, this is so you go into the program that tells you what the numbers of the keys are.
Okay.
And you hit the key and you see what the number is, and you use the number, whatever key you want, you use that number. So if I, for example, if I hit the key and it says 65, hit the A, it gives me 65. Then I can use A for something. I see the keystroke equals 65, do something.
Okay, so it corresponds to like an actual
Yes.
position on the computer's
Yes.
keyboard.
Yeah, these are built into it, right?
Okay, the numbers just seemed really arbitrary to me, so I was like, why are they?
Actually, they are arbitrary. Well, they did start off. What they did is they said, okay, we're going to make them. By the way, all the computer companies use different numbers to start with. It was quite chaotic in the beginning. But basically, what they did was they said, okay, we got to have all the numbers, all the letters, upper and lower case. So they just started off with the lowest numbers, started just putting them in, 0 into blah, 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 with asterisk and semicolon. You know, they went through the keyboard. And they came up with some standard version that they agreed to, that's all. They are in secret, they are in order though. Well, even though 0 is not 0 on the numerical value, its numerical value does add up. 1 and 2 and 3 are come after it. But the best way to do it is just simply run our program and find out what the numbers are that you're going to use. Okay. Next question. So if you ran this program, you now have, you can hit the 4 keys. This plane will be out there in space, and if I hit the 40, the down arrow, that plane will come towards me. If I hit the 38, the up arrow, the plane will move away from me. If I hit the 37, the plane will start to turn. Of course, from our perspective, it will look like it's going the other way, because we're sitting here while it's going like that. And 39, the same thing. That's one of the things you have to get used to. It's sort of like, it's built into the problem of 3D graphics. And cameras and movies and everywhere. Everywhere where you have a camera in one position and an object moving in another position, that guy's right hand is your left hand. And that's a problem. When you say up left stage or something like that, you mean left stage with respect to the audience or all the people on the stage? It makes it, those things make a difference. But that's the kind of thing you've gotten used to all your life, so you just have to work it out. In other words, if you pick the wrong one, if you put like the rotation one, if you put 37, 30, you swap them around right here, then you'd, you know, be going the wrong way. You just simply, okay, swap them, that's all. It's just, you have to use your head, figure it out. And there it is. So that's how you move an object. Every object, you know, any object that you have will look like this. They'll have a Z position, XYZ position, and the turn position. By the way, you could also, if you wanted to, instead of turning it over the Y, the 0, I could turn it over the Z, for example. If I put turn over here, what it would do is, the Z-axis is going in, so it would turn over the Z-axis this way. That would give you the Z rotation. And the X rotation would flip it over backwards and forward over the X-axis. So in other words, if you put it here, 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 you will get something to happen. It's just that you may not get what you want. You got to put it in the right place. Turn like so. Are there any questions about that so far? That part is how you turn an object. That's how you move an object. The object itself moved with these commands. And I'm just using the keys to move it, okay. Ultimately, we use the mouse to do it. Like in games, you use the mouse. We use the mouse too. We do the same thing. I've set it up so that behind the scenes it takes care of all the arithmetic. The hardest part of programming is you have to do all this arithmetic. It's just, anybody can do it. It's just a nuisance. You got to write it and figure it all out. So sometimes it's better just to take that stuff. Once you know what's being done, just throw it behind the scenes and say, okay, let them do it. Once you get it done, you put it away, it's done. And then whenever you want to use it, you say, okay, go left or go right. It does all the arithmetic for you. It's easy to do. So that's what I've done. A lot of these things are hidden after we get through. All right, so at this point, now I'd like to say, how do you rotate the camera, which is an entirely different situation, okay? So I'm going to change all these things here. I don't actually need this anymore, but I'm going to cut the thing down to what we need. Let's say you still have the object, and it's still on the scene, And now you want to use, you want to change the camera. You're going to work with the camera instead. Okay. So let me do it differently here. So, function. Okay. This time we're not rotating the object. The object's staying in the same position. And we're just going to rotate the camera. Right? The camera will change. So everything's the same up there. Down here is where it gets funny. These two lines right here, are what's involved with turning the camera. Okay, when you, as I said, if you have an object sitting here, and you're the camera out here, like you're the camera, okay. Now, if you want to rotate the world so that everything in the world rotates, the whole scene rotates, there's no way to do that because you'd have to take every object and figure out, calculate where it would go, and it would be very complicated to do. So it's much easier just to say, take the camera. You know how far it is away. You know its radius already, how far it is in the middle, because you set that up in the beginning. We pulled it down 300 right there. We know it's already a certain distance out. So the ideal thing to do with the camera is just simply make it rotate around the object, and that makes the whole world spin. The camera's actually spinning, but it looks like the whole world's spinning in the opposite direction. So we've got one thing to turn and everything moves. It makes it nice and easy to do. Okay, so the thing is, the camera, it isn't built with an angle thing in it. There's no angle. You can't say change the angle of the camera. It's not easy. You can rotate the camera, but it rotates on its own axis, which doesn't help us in any way. We want it to rotate on the center of this thing over here. It rotates. We can do the rotate. We can say camera dot rotation x or y equals blah blah, but they ain't going to help us. It's going to confuse everything. So what you have to do is kind of a weird thing. What has to be done is, if this camera was rotated on this circle over to here, for example, right, this radius would still be the same. And now what you've done is you move this angle right here, this angle right here. Well, it turns out that that's the new x and z position right here. And that angle is the angle you just went. So basically, what I do is, behind the scenes, out of your necessity, you don't have to do it, is I do a little trigonometry. And I simply say, well, if I rotate this angle right here, and I know that's the radius of the big circle, then I know that's the hypotenuse, it's still a hypotenuse, and I just figure out what the x distance and the z distance is, and that's the location of this point now. So I just do a simple calculation behind the scenes. So what you do is, you tell this function, you say, here's the angle I want to turn. It takes the information, the radius and that angle, and calculates what position you're in right now. And then what you simply do is, right here and here, you simply put the camera in that new position where it's at. That's the new position right here. It does it. So in other words, you don't have to worry about it. You have to simply call this function. It does a calculation and gives you back the x and the z. It actually gives you back x and the y, but the y is really z in this case, because we can use it different ways, but I'm using it for the z. So, I want to show you how you would do that, how you would make that work. You still have to do the same thing with respect to capturing the key. You still have to say, how have I turned the 37, 38, 30? You have to still have that, okay? And you have to figure it out. Another thing too is you can also tell the camera to change radiuses. You can tell the camera to go in or out, like this, which doesn't hurt anything. We just simply, if you bring in this distance right here, we still know this angle, we still know this length, so we can still calculate the new x and y, and that's done behind the scenes. So you never have to worry about that anymore. All you have to worry about is how many degrees do you want to turn the camera. And by the way, it takes it in degrees. It calculates radians for you. It does all the work for you, basically. It calculates, if you want to turn a certain angle, it'll calculate the radians, it'll calculate the new distance, the new radius, everything, and then it will draw you the picture. It does all that for you. So here's how it's done. Basically, you have to do the work of getting the numbers. You have to know what the user wants to do. So you do have to ask them to hit 37, 38, 39, 40, and so forth. I'll get rid of this right here. Get a little space. Assume the render function is down here someplace. function. Yeah. With everything, no, assuming random functions down here, we don't care, all the rest of the stuff's still there. What I want to do is, I want to work out here with the keyboard, and want to capture the keys and say, what do I want to do? Okay. So the first thing you do is, you say, you have to have the key hit function still. So I say function, try to get it all in this time. And I have to say if the keystroke equals 37, I want to degrees minus equals 1. Okay, I've got to have one more thing here. Right up in here, I have to have a variable degrees equals 0. I want to have a variable. It's got to be a global variable outside of a function. It's good because it has to maintain. You go into the function now, you got to make sure the number stays there. So you put that in its place up. You just leave it up there. Okay, so what you're doing is you're saying, okay, if I hit a 37, then make degrees minus 1. And what it does is, that simply moves you. You actually rotate minus 1 degrees. It converts that degrees into radians, does a new calculation for your x and z, and tells you what it is. And here's how it tells you what it is. It tells you what it is in these two lines right here. I'm going to write them in. The thing is called x bounds. It's a really weird name. It came from something we were doing, and it's built into the graphics XX. It's built into it. X bounds is what it's called. And what you send x bounds is two numbers. You send it the camera's radius and degrees. So I have to keep that someplace. I'm going to have to keep that up here. Sorry about that. There we go. Camera radius equals 0, I equals 300 or whatever it was. 300, that means originally the camera's 300 away from the thing. I'm going to call this camera, I'm going to get rid of that too. So basically, what you have to know is you have to know, because of the fact you can shorten the radius by going in, so you got to keep it as a variable. You can't put a specific number in it. So what you do is you give the name camera radius, and then you start off and you say it's not a variable. Then what you do is you say x bounds, take that radius, whatever it is, and initially it's going to be exactly what it is. You take camera radius, so that's that variable name up there, comma, and degrees. All it simply does is x bounds simply takes calculates based on the radius of the camera and the number of degrees you have. It tells you what your x position is. That's where the camera starts to move. It tells you where your new x position. It does it with a simple trick, a simple hypotenuse. And y bounds right here. Same information. Camera radius. Comma and degrees. What that does for you is it tells you what your new z position is. So therefore, this one tells you what x is and tells you what z is. So here you are, here's the box, and here's you right here. And you press this button, and it slides you over to this new position over here. This new position has a new, this is the z right here, and this is the x right here. So in other words, what it sends you back is this information, which is the position of this guy. And that's what you want to know, is where am I at now? So that's what it calculates for you. So basically, this right here, what this does is it allows you to calculate what rotation in degrees that you are. Okay. So you also have to have, naturally, because if you're going one way, you've got to be able to go the other way too. So you say if keystroke equals 40, 39 rather, 39. In that case, what you do is you say degrees plus equals 1. So that takes care of that. So now you can rotate this way or that way, whichever way you want. Then you say if keystroke equals 40, then camera radius is changed, equals, plus equals 1. Like that. So if you hit 40, you're moving the world now. You're not just, you're rotating with the 37, 39 you rotate, but you're moving the world now. And the reason why, if like 40's down, right? What it means is your camera is moving away from the objects. You're moving away, so you're moving in a positive direction. So therefore, you add 1 to the camera's radius. It gets longer as you move away. And if you move in towards the thing, towards the scene, do the opposite. Equals 38. Camera radius. Okay. And then you get to the end of the function here. And that's it. That's that function. That's how it works. It knows, and no matter if you're moving objects, or if you're moving individual objects, or if you're moving the whole scene, you can use the same kind of keys. Now, if you have 3 objects and you want to move this one this much, and that one this much, you've got a little different deal in your hands, because they're going to either deal with one object or the other. They're not going to deal with 2 or 3 objects. You can only get one. You only have 4 things here. So what then you have to do is you have to get a little tricky on what keys you use. Use different keys with different objects, or however you want to do it. What I use is I build in, if an object in here has a programmed position it goes into, I just add some code up here to make it do what it's supposed to do. And then I use the mouse to control where I am and where I'm going and doing all that stuff. We're going to be able to do that. But the mouse is a little bit tricky because the mouse has an odd thing to it. You guys have never thought about this before, and I'm not going to make a big deal out of it today, but what happens is, if you say, turn right and turn down, and go 5, down like that. If I said, turn down, turn right, and go 5, you're going to go to a different place. In other words, the sequence of x's and y's that you turn, x, y, and z that you turn, if you turn left, if you turn x, y, z, or y, z, x, you're going to get in a different position. If you don't get, in other words, if you do the turns in a different orientation, you're going to get to a different position. So if you turn x, y, z and move 5 places, it's going to be different if you turn x, z, y and move 5 places. You're going to be a different place because you've rotated and you're looking different ways when you start moving. The problem with that is that it can get you into trouble in drawing stuff, because if you say, for example, I want to look up and I want to look down. Suppose you're in a world and you want to walk around in the world. You say, okay, turn left and right and walk around a few feet, and then look up like that. But supposing what you said was, look up first, and then turn right and walk a few feet. You're going to go up into the sky. It's going to completely screw everything up. So basically, when you do x, y, and z is very important. What we're doing is we're doing the x-axis, the y-axis, the z-axis in that order. That's the order we're doing them in now. You're never going to have to worry about this, except I'm going to show you what has to happen behind the scenes to make this work out, because it is a little bit of a rigmarole. Basically, it's something that you know, as a kid you just don't think about, but it's always true. You just never think about the fact that when you turn this way and then turn a different way and then move, it's different than if you turn the first way and the second way and move. It puts you in a different place, but you never think about that. So basically, we'll work on that. At this point, all you have to worry about is two things: how to turn an object and how to turn the camera. And once you get those two down, you're actually doing pretty well. This is pretty weighty stuff, and I want to give you some time to look at it and play with it a little bit. I'm going to put more programs up there that are just demonstrations. Some of them are cornball. They just show you how to do simple stuff and do it over and over again. But the more you see the stuff, and always look at the code. See what the code does, because the code's always doing something that's the part that you want to know about, not what it's doing. You want to see how does it do that, and that's the critical part. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I can give you a little hint about where we're going now. Next week we're going to start. I'm going to add videos onto the wall. You have a rectangle. You have a video movie on it. There's one more thing I have to cover, so I'll get that out of the way, and then I'll let you go. When you draw a plane, you say make plane, and then plane is the general character of the thing that you're drawing. It's called a plane. You've got to put it there. You say whatever my name is dot plane, because you're making a plane. Okay. I'd like to show you how it works with spheres and other stuff, because they're different. They're different than this. So let me put down the basic things, the basic commands we have for drawing objects, and I'll show you what in the render, which you have to write, how it looks like in the render. That way you'll see, I want to create this object, I want to move this, or I want to show this object up in the render. We don't need all this stuff. So there's two commands, there's two areas where you have to work when you're creating an object. One is you have to work in the body. And in the body, you actually say, I want this object, and you tell its dimensions and everything. And then in the JavaScript, you tell it where to put the object and how to turn it and how to rotate it and do it what you want to do with it. So one creates it, the other one actually does something to it. We just did the rectangle, so I don't think I have to do that again, the plane. That was easy. Let's do the sphere. To make a sphere, you have to, let me write the two parts here, let me write the sphere part. And I actually have to read these things to make sure I get all the parts. Some of these are kind of weird too, they're kind of unusual. So, well, first of all, you assume you're down the body, we're down the body here. And I put the graphics line in, so I created the graphics. And now what I want to do is I want to create a sphere. So this is my sphere line. I'm just going to create a line that creates a sphere. It's a script. Variable. Give it a name. Give the sphere a name of some kind. I called it my sphere. This is just my name. And you got to put new. Remember to put new. That's a critical word in this thing. Space. It's called sphere. Let me write the numbers down, then I'll tell you what they all mean. Okay. Here's a sphere that's got a radius of 50. That's its radius is 50. That first number is the radius, okay. The second number is a little peculiar. It means this. How many breakups do you want to make vertically, and how many do you want to make this way? In other words, you break it down. The more you break it down, the smoother it is. The more you break it down, the slower it is too. So I usually use 32 is about right. It sort of looks okay. You can go to 64. I would stay multiples of 2 if I were you. It makes it much easier for the computer to calculate. But basically, you can put it any size you want, any smoothness you want. 1,000, 10248, so you got 2048 or something like that. You can put huge numbers, I guess, but basically 32 by 32 is about right. And it gives you enough so that it actually looks like a sphere and it kind of does everything you want it to do. So that's how you create the sphere. You put down its radius, the word sphere here, radius, the 32 and 32 are just those breakdowns and then the picture you want to put on it. And that's it. Now, what you do up here when you're going to draw the thing is a little bit different. What you do is you put down the name of the thing, my sphere. And then you got to put down the positions and the rotation things in. But what you use, the word right here, uses ball. Dot. Position of x equals 0. And so what happens is the sphere will appear, and the center of the sphere will be in whatever location. It's at the origin originally. The sphere is at the origin. When you put a picture on a sphere, what it does is it wraps it around the sphere, and it goes to the back end. So what happens is it's just simply like a flag, for example. The beginning of the flag, it'll wrap against the end of the flag. It just wraps it around, and it sort of does its best to push it down onto the sphere. Kind of makes it look as good as it can. It's good, not bad. They do a good job. And so that's how it's done. And so in other words, whatever you want to do has to have the word ball in it. Put your name, whatever it is, in the word ball. And then you can move it around. You can do the same thing. You rotate it just like you did the other one with the keys or whatever you want to do. And that's how a sphere is created. The sphere can be seen both from the inside and the outside. And that's something we take advantage of a lot. You can create a whole world, and you can be in the middle looking out at the sphere and you're looking at the world around you. Because you're looking at the sphere, inside of the sphere, it looks like the world around you. If you put a picture on it of mountains and everything, you're looking at a mountain scene. If you're outside of it, you can look at a ball, like a medicine ball or something. So that's your choice. It's how big you make the sphere, the radius, and where you're located. If you're located at 0, 0, 0, and the sphere is 50, it's going to be around you. You're going to be able to look around. If you move your z out to 300 and you create the 50 sphere, you're going to look at it. You're going to be looking at it from outside. And you can move into it. You can go out right into it, be inside and outside too. So, so the sphere is kind of cool. It's a nice object. Another thing I should tell you right now, why not? If you have a sphere, and supposing the picture you're going to put on is ping, okay? And you got a ping, there's your ping right here, and you want to punch a hole in the ping. You want to have the sphere be able to see through it in some places. Okay, you want to have an image that also holds holes here and there. Well, the image that you put onto the sphere, you simply punch a hole in it right here. So, for example, you take it to, you put a color in this spot, in this circle right here. You go to X and view and tell it to make that transparent. And when you put that thing on the sphere, down here you say PNG, for your PNG file, it will put a hole there and you'll be able to see through it. You can actually have little holes in it all over the place, whatever you want to do. And you can do that for any of the images, by the way, the rectangle or any of them. If you put a ping with a transparency, it'll be transparent. So that's kind of handy. Okay, so that's how the sphere kind of works. Let's do a cylinder. The cylinder's got two possibilities. Well, the cylinder, actually there's three. It's kind of interesting. A cylinder looks like this. So basically, you got to tell it the two radiuses that will make it a cylinder and its height. You tell it the height and the two radiuses, that's what it has to have. If you make one of those radiuses 0, you're going to have a cone like that, which is kind of cool. So you can make cones out of cylinders too, just by simply calling one of the radiuses 0. The other thing you can do, which is interesting, is you can fill in, like if you got like gray, for example, using gray, you can tell it to fill in the top of gray and the bottom of gray, or you can tell it to leave those both empty and just put gray on the side of the cylinder. So long as you can fill in the top and bottom, you have a choice to do that. And that actually is handy for some situations. So let me show you how to make the cylinder. gonna give it the name my tube. The function is called cylinder. And the first thing you do is you put the top radius, bottom radius, the height, and then again 32, 32, which is just simply the density of the structure that you're putting in. You do that. Let me give it a name. That's it. Basically, the top radius, bottom radius, height of the thing, the 32 and 32 are the structure this way and the structure that way. However many grids you want to put in the thing. And up in the drawing section, when you're going to draw it, what you do is you put this down. My tube. Dot tube. Tube is the magic word here for this. Dot position. X equals 0. And that's they all use that. That's the name you gave it. That right there. All cylinders are called tube. Okay. And what this one will do is this particular version will fill in the top and bottom with the same whatever it's using for texture on the sides. It'll throw it on the top and bottom. If you want to have the top and bottom empty so that there's no top and no bottom, all you have to do is one simple thing out here. You simply, at this point right here, and do it again, at this point right here, if you put a comma and you put 1 inside the parentheses, comma 1, that'll kill the top and bottom, they'll disappear. So in other words, you have a cylinder with empty on top and empty on the bottom, but it will have texture on the sides. So if you put that comma 1 in there, if you don't put that in there, it'll just fill the whole thing in, that's all. It's a slash script. There, so that's how you make that whole deal. Does that kind of make sense? You see where this is all going, where we're at? Okay, next thing. Suppose that you want to make a donut, which is called a torus. Okay, we're going to make a torus. A torus has two radiuses, or two radii, as we say. It has a radius that's around the whole thing, then it has a radius that's around the donut part. So there's a big radius and a little radius, there's two different radiuses. Okay. So basically, in order to make a donut, we have to tell it. And by the way, when the image plasters on this thing, it does it in all kinds of which ways. So basically, the only time I ever use a torus with a picture on it is if I'm doing something that's where it doesn't make any difference which way it's oriented, like a bunch of speckles, for example. It doesn't care how they're oriented, it looks okay. But if you try to do a normal photograph, it's going to look really weird. Part of it's going to be here, part's going to be there. So it really doesn't do a very good job. You have to kind of realize when you're making a donut, the texture just goes onto it in a very strange style. So let's do a torus. I'm getting a cold. Actually, this room here makes me cough. I don't have a cold or anything. It's just the air if you guys are tense. It blows right on us.
I'm gonna do this, but I just had like dry irritation in my throat for the last day. But it's not the sore throat like the beginning of a cold or the flu either. Yeah, no, it's Fairbanks. And it's winter, you know.
That's it right there. That's how you, that's the big radius around the whole thing. That's the little radius around the donut. This 32, 32 again is how many ribs you want to put in the thing. Because some ribs go that way and some ribs go that way. And to render it, you render this thing and you call it a donut. So this is called my donut, so I said my donut. And I use donut as the general category. By the way, you may wonder why I put these things in. I could have avoided them. But when you have a big program, you kind of know what kind of object you have. There are all kinds of different names on them. But this one kind of tells you that we're dealing with donut. Don't get mixed up with all the others. You're going to have a list of them. You don't want to get mixed up in what they are. So I kept those things in there, tube and donut and that kind of stuff, just to make sure that that happened. And there it is. That's how you make a donut. And that's how you control its position. It's the same thing. You can make it rotate and do whatever you want. It does all kinds of stuff. When the donut is first created, it's created in this position here. Well, it's X, Y, Z. That's the position it's in. Okay? So you have to be careful about how you deal with it. But you'll see it. If you don't move it or don't rotate it, you'll see right away what position. That's not quite right. It should be more like that. It's right in the middle, but it's located like that. Okay, last thing I want to show you, the easy breezy last thing is a cube. Cube is the only thing left to do. Shapes that are not in this category, these categories here, you can make them too, but you have to use a different program to bring them in, and I'll show you how to do that. Eventually we'll get into that. So here's the call this thing my cube. Oops. Yeah. I'm sorry. I gave it the name text cube because it's got texture on it. So you're putting texture on it, which we didn't do originally. I actually used colors. I don't do that anymore. 200, 100, 50. I'll tell you what these are in a second. Then I put f.jpg, in.jpg, any pictures you want. g.jpg, x.jpg, t.jpg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, last one. Any pictures you want, whatever they are. And you need to put 6 pictures because there's 6 sides to a cube, 6 sides to it. And so we need 6 pictures in there, 6 different pictures. Make sure you have quote marks around them. And watch those quotes because if you screw it up, the whole thing won't run right. You gotta have quotes in the right places. My cube, it is right here. Dot, and this time I called it text cube. Dot position. Dot X, 0. There it is. That's it. That's how you make cubes. And those are the basic objects we have. Cylinder, torus, sphere, plane, cube.
Will these all be up on the class website? The various shapes?
What?
Will they all be up on the class?
Yeah, they're there now.
Okay, perfect.
In fact, there's an example of every one of them up there.
Okay, perfect.
And there's also written.
Seeing it now is one thing, but I need to go like really sit and stare at some of them.
So, as I say, the next time we're going to talk about putting videos onto these things. Slightly different deal, because with a video, with an image, you put it on there, it just stays there. No matter what you do, the image is still glued to it. If you put a video on, the thing has to keep grabbing the frames of the video. Now, It redraws the scene and frame by frame. It does do that, but it doesn't go out and grab the frames out of these videos. You've got to do that yourself. So as it grabs a new frame, you have to grab a new video frame and bring it in. If you have a dynamic video on pictures on your, instead of fixed JPEGs or pings on your objects. So that's the beginning one, and we have enough here to do quite a bit of fun. You could do quite a few things. And next week I'll give you a simple 3D graphics homework assignment, something simple, just so you can see how to use it, be sure you can use it. And then we'll start getting into things like shading video, moving stuff around. It's really quite fun. And it's actually not even hard, it's just it piles up, you just get used to the parts of it. That's it. Done and